All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. As always, I'm your host, Adam Smith, with Just the Tips Coaching. And with me, pretty much as always, is one of our other coaches, our marketing director, all around superhuman, Mrs. Jen Waybor Hart. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Adam.
Still getting used to the misses, but it's only 6
You and me
months.
both.
You and me both. Well, it has been 6 months, so maybe it's time for you to get used to it anyway.
Oh, that's weird.
That
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jen and I, have a really cool guest for you guys today. And I'm still kind of taken aback by the fact that we haven't had this person on the show before. It seems kind of strange, but I'm going to level with all of you, even after, it's probably a quarter century of being in the mortgage business in Colorado. I just don't know that many other mortgage people in Colorado. It's just been a small handful over the years, and it's always come via some other circles that we run in, including one or two, some national, some local. But welcome to the show, Crystal Stearns. Hi, Crystal.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, and I'm really still almost bothered by the fact that we haven't had you on the show yet. So forgiveness will be begged for as time goes on, I'm sure. But Crystal, I don't think it's any secret that myself and probably a lot of our brethren here that are in the mortgage space in Colorado, and certainly the people that are in the circles that you and I run with outside of Colorado, we think you're the shit. We do. We think you're the bomb. Bomb.com, as Jen once taught me back when she was in her 20s. We can get around to that conversation if we want. A little bit of pre-live chatter for those of you that are missing the inside joke. It may become an outside joke here shortly. But Crystal, give us a little bit of background, because we've never had you on the show. And while we're buddies and we talk about shit that's going on in our lives in real time, I don't know where you came from. I mean, you started doing mortgages when you were 8.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I know.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. Thank you for the compliments, and I'm excited to be on here with you. Let's see. I started in the business right before the crash. I didn't even know what a loan officer was. I was in the process of getting a house, and they were kind of unorganized. And I said, "Man, you guys need like an office manager." And I'm kind of controlling in that way, where I'm like, "Let me come over and fix this." And then they're like, "You should be a loan officer." I was like, "Great."
You went to the mortgage company that did the mortgage on your house and helped them clean shit up?
Yes.
Okay. I love it.
Well, that's what I offered
That's awesome.
to do. And then they said, "You should be a loan officer." And I said, "Okay, well, what does that actually mean?" Because, this was subprime market. So 100% financing, the craziest stuff. And so I got into it, and they were actually more of a refi sweatshop, which was weird. They actually were like, "Oh, don't worry about purchases, just do refis and call this list of people and say, hey, I know you had a bankruptcy. I can get you a mortgage." I'm like, sounds good. It was a weird way to start. Let's just say that. And then that was brokering, and that was back when you FedEx the packages, and they took the pictures,
Text in
they
your
printed
conditions.
it. Yes, yeah, and you don't even need like verification of employment. Maybe you didn't even need a pay stub then. We definitely didn't get W-2s then, so it's definitely a different world. I think I started really, really slowly though in this industry, because I was with companies like that kind of held us back and kept us kind of in their little umbrella. From there, I went to Countrywide, and this was after the crash, and Countrywide, or I guess right around the crash, Countrywide was getting bought out by Bank of America. So you had all that drama. So that was kind of a setback. In the middle of that, I had kiddos. I got into the business when I was pregnant with my daughter, who's now 18. And then right after the crash, I had another daughter. That was just chaos because of the way the market was. And she ended up really sick at a couple months old, hospitalized, and I would bring her to work on oxygen. So I kind of feel like I always had these hurdles that just got me a very slow start. From there, I opened a Fairway branch here in Colorado Springs. We're the first Fairway branch. Nobody heard of us. I was with a group out of Texas. I traveled back and forth from Texas to here. Didn't really know what I was doing. Opened a broker shop at one point too. Didn't really know what I was doing. Didn't have mentorship. Coaching wasn't really a thing. I know they had like Todd Duncan was a thing, and I went to one of those, but I didn't know there was coaching like you guys offer. And I look back and I'm like, man, if I could have started off with a community like we have now and started out
Seriously.
in groups, and I didn't even know to have a database. I didn't even keep a database until maybe I know it's terrible. So I came over to where I'm at now. I've been with the same group of people for almost 10 years now, which I think is amazing. I did leave for about 6 months, got into a really bad partnership, lost a lot of money through that, lost some really good relationships through that. Came back here and said, this is home. So I've been with these guys for almost 10 years. And coming over here is when I really kind of learned like, wow, people do, more than 5 loans a month. People have like organization and databases, and there's coaching, and there's, anyway, so you get the point. So I really, really feel like I started off slow, and my career finally kind of took off the last several years after actually learning how to do this business and having people around me to show me the ropes and coach me.
That is really cool. And I don't think you're alone. I probably have a fleeting thought several times a year that if I had met this person earlier in my career, 10 years earlier, 15 years earlier, whatever the case may be, then we would have a screaming relationship. I absolutely would have sought out that kind of data. One of the things that really always brings a chuckle, I guess, as it were, is that I come across a lot of people, LOs, coaching clients that are LOs and real estate agents, et cetera, that are new or are struggling and talk about doing rideshare or DoorDash or things that they can do in their spare time to supplement their income during either their starter period as an LO or as a real estate agent, or if you don't have a significant established business, even right now, things might be a little bizarre for you. And I remember early on in the inception of things like rideshare that we would joke about it. Oh, well, if you're doing Uber, then you're not very good at real estate. But when I look back on it, if that kind of shit existed when I was a new LO, I probably would have been doing that shit because it is a great way to supplement your income. And on top of it, it's a great way to meet people.
Right?
Yeah, we are actually adding to our audience in that manner. So yeah, I do look back on a lot of that, and a long list of names, some distinguished, some not as distinguished, that I could say, yeah, if I had only met them 10 years earlier in my career, instead of wherever I'm at now, whenever that time period was, then yeah, that would certainly have made an impact. But I'm more than sympathetic. My first, and I shouldn't say first, my only other loan origination gig, I started as an LO, a broker for Mortgage Pros. And that was some years before becoming a broker owner. And we have our 19th anniversary of our brokerage, I think.
Oh, that's
like
awesome.
right now, Jen, somewhere
I think it's
April.
like today.
It may be today. We may be
It may be
celebrating
today.
Yeah, it may be today. Our
Congratulations.
our 19th anniversary of the Colorado Real Estate Finance Group. But I was in a similar situation. It was certainly leading into what went on in subprime. And I was given a computer, which I'm glad those existed then. And yes, we were faxing conditions in on a thermal fax machine, 100 pages, those kinds of things. And I was literally given an Excel spreadsheet of names and numbers and a copy of Calyx Point, which, by the way, is still the exact same software today that it was then. You people over at Calyx really need to get on the stick about that, because it really doesn't look any different than it did 20 some years ago. And a pat on the bottom, good luck, kid. And that eventually developed into being a decent loan originator, mortgage broker. And that developed into becoming a broker owner. And I've never looked at anything since. It's the only real job I've ever had. And yes, back then we had never heard of Fairway. And look at what a toehold, a footprint they've had in the industry over the last decade. Highs and lows, goods and bads, but like everything, particularly with bigger companies. But that was basically how it started for a lot of us. Here's a cold call list. Here's a computer with some shitty old software on it and a pat on the bottom. And that was how it really started. And it's funny because I still do work for and socialize with some of the clients that I had before I had a brokerage, which is amazing. We just kind of had to adopt and implement that kind of contact database, that kind of contact management without really being told how to do it right off the bat. So
Yep.
yeah, I have some clients that were with me when I was a broker at Mortgage Pros that are still working with me today. So there was certainly something to be said about being thrown to the wolves, as it
Yes.
were, with that point. And I wonder how many of us can say that. I wonder how
Yeah.
many people can say, yeah, I remember what business was like prior to 07, 08. And I think another funny bit of this is that we've actually had employees that were mortgage clients.
Oh, that's
In
awesome.
fact, and even in recent times, because Jen knows of them, and the most recent
Yep.
one, we were in the process of getting her a mortgage, and she got laid off.
Oh,
Well, I was like, let's give her a job.
oh,
We need
nice.
the help. It's right up her alley.
That's
Then she can
awesome.
verify employment. She can go close her loan.
There you go.
So yeah, I've seen a lot of that kind of thing over time. So good for you for still being in it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I have a choice. I don't know anything else. This
Oh
is
no,
my-
it ruined you for anything else.
yeah, I mean, once
Yeah.
you're in, it's like the mob, you're not getting out. And then I don't know. I mean, obviously there's so much that you learn from this industry and learn from your clients. And, you see a client that has a lot of like real estate portfolio, and you're like, hey, how did you do this? And we learn a lot of skills, but I'm like, this is all I know. This is the only like my adult job that I've had, and the only career I've had. And I don't know that I would want to do anything else, but I also don't know anything else. So I can
Well,
talk
and
about mortgages for hours, and there's not much else I can talk about for hours.
oh, I know that's not true. Yeah, because we've done that. But I think that if we asked anybody who knows you, who works with you, who runs in those circles, they'd probably be pretty glad that it ruined you for anything else.
Well, thank you.
So let's step into the Wayback Machine, because there was obviously a time where, well, the Wall Street greed that circumnavigated the mortgage industry did crash the system. We fucked the whole thing up. For those of you that haven't seen The Big Short, go check that out. I'm guessing that our audience has seen. There were times where we just ran it on loop in our conference room, as a reminder. In fact, years ago, Jen and I both spoke at the non-QM mortgage conference in Dana Point, California. And we were sitting having lunch, eavesdropping on a conversation either behind me or behind her. And when we were done, she said it even reminded her of the script for The Big Short.
I wanted to go save the guy that they were talking to.
And they were trying to recruit somebody. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. It was something very, very interesting. So let's not pull any punches. Wall Street greed has a very short memory. There's just no two ways about it. All right. So crash happens. Business is absolute chaos. You still have your hands full as homeowner, as parent, as spouse, I think, then? No.
No, not that. I was a single mom with a toddler and a baby. My baby was born January of 2010. I actually closed a mortgage from my hospital bed when she was about 2 hours old, and I'm still friends with that client. And
you'd better be.
I know, and that agent is one of my best friends. We've consistently worked together for 14 years, but he's also like one of my really, really good friends. So nope, I was single then, and just struggled through it. Man, it was a struggle. You want to know how much money I made that year?
$12.
27,000.
Yeah, that was a decent amount of money way back then, though.
No, not really. I mean,
no, not really.
Not really. I struggled. That was rough. And now, I mean, gosh, that's like how much my bills are a month now. But that was humbling. That was tough. I think the biggest thing I've learned through these ups and downs, and I think it's important for the audience, is to really be able to change and to move with the circumstance and treat this as a business. That's what I wish I would have known differently. Like, I treated this as a job going into it, even though it was commission only. I remember like my second month in, I think I made like $8,000 in 1 month. And I'm like 21 years old, like chilling, don't really have any bills, and like $8,000. And this is back in 2005. So I think it was a humbling experience to go from that down to making 27 that entire year with a toddler and a baby. I mean, there were times that when I was pregnant and had the toddler, I legit could not afford dinner, and we would have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for dinner. And now for a toddler, she didn't care. She was like 3.5. The first time she ever had McDonald's, I had $5 to my name, and you could buy like a 10-pack or a 20-pack of chicken nuggets. That's what we had for dinner. There were a lot of really depressing nights, and being pregnant and having this child and having this, this financial burden was tough for sure. But everything grows you, right? Everything, you're where you're supposed to be in that moment. And so there was a lot of reasons that I was supposed to be there. And I think that was for me to get where I'm at now and to be consistent with who I am and to never let money change me one way or another, because I've seen both sides of it. But I think aside from that is I treated this like a job, and I showed up. Like I said, I was in like a refi sweatshop. They made us be there like 9 to 5. They wouldn't let us go meet real estate agents. They, like you said, we telemarketed. I actually am still friends with my first client. She doesn't know she's my first client. She just had a grandbaby, and his name is the same name as my son, and his middle name is the same middle name as my daughter, which is crazy. But
well, now they know.
That's so cool.
Well, yeah. So if they don't know that, I don't even think they realize. So his name is Braden Kai, and my daughter's Kylie, but Braden's my son. Anyway, so I did that loan for her daughter-in-law. Now they just had this. But anyway, it's just crazy. But I wish I would have known more. And again, everything happens the way it's supposed to. I'm a big believer in that. But I wish I would have treated this like a business and not just a job, because I could have been more consistent. I could have kept that database. I would have like owned this as my own versus like showing up to work from a 9 to 5. So once I kind of, I think, had that shift and said, like, this is my business. Like, yes, I work for a company, but that's why I'm the Crystal Stearns team. I'm Crystal Stearns LLC in my mind, right? That's how we should all treat it. So really own it as your business, treat it that way, set yourself up properly that way with the right organizational skills, with the right, database, the right marketing, the right team is super big and super important. And also protecting your business is really important. I also learned that the hard way. So I think even though, yes, the ups and downs, the OA, honestly, I think that right now, and tell me if you agree, I feel like right now is harder than the crash, because I feel like in the crash, we at least had like, do you remember when you could do the $100 HUD loan? Like you could literally buy a house for $100 down if it was a HUD, and you had to drive it from Colorado Springs to Denver with the agent. We were literally, I was just talking about this on Saturday. You had to drive the contract to Denver, and if it wasn't there by a certain time, like you lost the deal. So I feel like at least back then, home affordability was a little bit better, and there were so many deals and so much inventory.
Yeah, that was another issue. That was this is crazy. Okay, before I forget, I can't be the only one that thinks Crystal should be giving TED Talks.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Crystal, your story is
That
amazing.
background.
Except for I went to like 5 subjects in 5 minutes. I'm super ADD. I apologize.
You're good. But I do think that that's really an important point. How many people, and I don't know that, we talk about it all the time with real estate agents, and I guess we probably should with loan originators as well, but God, how many of us have actually seen a buyer's market? I mean,
yeah,
so rare.
Yeah.
It's been so long. But I'm not sure that we'll ever have a buyer's market again. But the number of people in mortgages and real estate that have actually seen a buyer's market, 1%, 2%,
right.
something to that effect. Yeah, it was definitely a very, very different.
That's why I feel like this market's harder, because it's like, obviously with the NAR stuff, which I think is just, I think people are overreacting to personally, because nothing's even come out official yet. But I think that this is a harder market. So I think that's good for people to recognize, like, hey, yeah, you're struggling right now, but you're not the only one. Like everyone's struggling in a different way right now, and that's okay. But consistency is what's going to pay off.
For sure. Well, and I have people asking all the time when they're trying to or contemplating getting into real estate, getting into mortgages, and they'll always say it's hard right now, huh? I'll say, well, it's always fucking hard.
It's just
a different kind of hard, right?
That's right. It's exactly. A different, because when we were doing 50 loans a month, that was hard.
Oh, so hard.
And I had PTSD from that. Financially, we killed it, but my gosh, like I didn't sleep, I didn't have a life. Like yes, there's always a different kind of hard, and you just have to roll with the punches or find something else.
That's true. And I think on another point that you made, Jen, how many times do you think you've heard me say it's a career, not a job?
Oh yeah.
A million? All the time. And I
Mhm.
really wish people would adopt that mentality when they're getting into this kind of a space, because they don't.
Yeah, you have
It's
to.
it's really disappointing.
Mhm.
You have to. Well, if you want to succeed,
Right.
if you want to survive difficult times, those kinds of things, then yeah, you absolutely do have to teach it that way. And in fact, we don't have a whole lot of people on the show that I can regale with this particular tale and them be able to reference it. But gosh, I don't know, a decade ago, maybe more, I had finished speaking at a mortgage conference in Las Vegas and agreed to have dinner with a handful of the participants, the audience. One of them was Corey Roediger.
Mm.
And Corey asked me, what's the one thing you would tell someone to do to get where you're at? And I said, work hard for 20 years.
Mm.
There's no secrets, there's no unicorns, there's no magic potions. Figure out what you need to do and do it.
Yep.
And adopt some of these things just as a general understanding for all of you listening, the entire audience. If you're in a direct to consumer sales gig that has a high ticket item, mortgages, real estate, some cars, insurance, financial planning, etc., this shit is eyes open to eyes closed every day for the rest of
Mhm.
your career.
Yep.
And you have to treat it that way.
Yep.
Just work hard, please. All of you that are struggling, I guess is the way I would put it. Just do the work. You know what
Well,
you're
and
supposed to be doing.
I think, people that got in a few years ago, I have a couple of guys on my team that got in a few years ago too. And it, like I said, it was a different kind of hard, but my phone rang off the wall, literally, not off the wall because we don't have phones on the wall
No,
anymore. But
you're doing it again,
I
boomer.
just
You're
aged
dating
myself. I
yourself
know.
some more,
And
boomer.
let's clarify, I'm a millennial, but I act like a boomer.
Yes.
So the phone just rang, so you weren't having to chase the deals. And as a loan officer, I don't think real estate agents realize, kind of like our responsibilities. I totally understand their side is really, really difficult too. I'm not saying that at all, but we have to keep the real estate agents happy. We have to go and meet with new agents. We have to love on them. We have to make them love us. We have to convince them to send us their business, which is their paycheck. We have to convince them to trust us with that. Then we have to take really good care of the client, really win the client over. So, when it was super busy, I didn't have to do a lot of that. For one, I did a really good job up front. I established that relationship, and we were so busy that I wasn't having to like go out and get new agents and get new business. I mean, I didn't sell for 5 years. I was just all 100% referral from, so and so's mom referred me or whatever.
Yep.
But when I changed companies, that was really to my detriment. And I got out of those habits and I lost a lot of my database and I lost a lot of my relationships and my agents. And as you know, I was entangled with someone in the industry as well, my spouse of, many years, and that split off. And so that has some things to do with splitting off business as well. So it was like, it went from this like chaos in such a good way. And then clients didn't shop me. They were like, your rates are 2.75. Cool, let's go. And then now that the market has shifted, my partnerships have shifted, my business relationships have shifted. I have chosen to only work with people that I really want to work with versus feeling forced to work with someone who maybe doesn't respect me or my time or my boundaries. I mean, I worked with this large group that it was like, if you didn't answer your phone at 10 o'clock at night, they were like, we're not using her anymore. And it's like, I have a baby, a toddler. During COVID, I had a senior in high school, a freshman in high school, a fifth grader, a preschooler, and a toddler. And I was doing e-learning and I was working 15 hours and my spouse was going to the office. I was at home doing the meals and the work and I was closing, 50 loans in a month. And so I was like, okay, where can I go back to change my business structure where I enjoy it again? Because I don't know about you, but I was burnt the heck out. So now I've just chosen to redo my business and focus on like who I like to work with and don't have those same, stressors, which obviously is less business. But I think that those that got in a few years ago on the real estate side, as well as the mortgage side, you didn't have these extra things because it was like everyone wanted to buy a house. You didn't care who you worked with, you were just taking the loan or the buyer. Rates were so low, there wasn't all this extra riffraff. So I feel like people that have gotten in the business a few years ago are having to learn it the way that we learned it the old school way, and I'm having to retrain myself to go back to those basics and relearn it the way that we used to do things.
Oh, I think that you just said it all right there. I'm glad that you realized it. A lot of people aren't, but yes, get back to basics.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we do it. I do also think that while it's very important, I don't want to downplay it, to shape your business when it comes to your relationships, your clients, so on and so forth, to be in a position where you're only really working with people that you want to work with. That's not something those people can do yet. That
Sure.
literally takes years and years and years of business structure, on and on.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be light years ahead of where you are now had you adopted some of those principles early on. We've already
Yeah.
covered that, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. I'd probably be retired.
Right. Right.
Maybe. I like the work. I still like doing the work a lot. But I think that that's certainly plausible. We had excuse me, a fairly recent example. An agent actually down in the Springs referred us a client who was ridiculously well qualified. They really could have done whatever they wanted. And when it came down to it, on a Saturday night and a Sunday morning, they're burning up my phone because we want a pre-approval to literally borrow $100,000 and we want to close in 10 days. And I said, we're really not a good fit. Now, we've gone months without you, being responsive, returning calls, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to be better off working with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah, it's just that
you have
because
the
you get
freedom
the
to do that.
burnout. Yeah, well, you get that burnout, and I read something that said work really hard for 5 years to be able to relax for 50. And that was kind of my mindset during like again, I kind of wish that I would have known the gold mine we were in the subprime market. I really had no idea because I was a baby to the business. And again, it was a refi sweatshop. I didn't realize that your dog could purchase a house. And then, during the COVID, when the rates were so low, I didn't have a team yet. And so it was just me. And I just recently hired an LOA after doing 15 to 20 loans consistently a month. I hired an LOA to help with conditions. And that was pretty much it. So I was doing 15 to 20 pretty much by myself, which is detrimental moving forward because then you can't add on more business. And so when it got to the point where I remember I would come home at night at 7:00 at night. And again, I had babies at home. And I would have, 18 people left to call. And it's 7:30 at night. And I'm like, I can't. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I started adding slowly. I hired all brand new people. The first one was my little brother. And he typed like this, like chicken peck type. And he was amazing with customers. And I knew he would literally do anything for me. He just killed it with customers because once we hit the refi boom, we're 60 days in refis and people are ticked off. I didn't have the bandwidth to deal with this. So he's like, look, he's able to calm everyone down. And then my next hires were just all brand new. And a couple of them are now loan officers on their own and doing well. But at the time, we didn't really know what we were doing. Our hair was on fire. We were getting 100 leads in 2 weeks and it was just chaos. So I wish that I would have put different things in place and realized what a gold mine we were in, because then maybe I really would be retired. But again, I knew putting that time in. And so that's the thing, is like you really just got to hit it hard and really put the things in place and have the people around you and have the mentorship and just put those things in place. And it does pay off where then, your phone just rings without you having to chase the business. Unless you start over like I did.
All this reminiscing about what has gone on in different peaks and valleys of the industry, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I am worn out just over this half hour. It's ridiculous what we've seen in that time frame.
Isn't it? It's been wild. People, it's been wild. It's been a good ride, but
been wild. Yeah, and this has been a lot of fun. Jen, I'm sorry. I know we didn't get to talk about a single thing that we would normally talk about over the course of having a new guest on the show. Pretty wild stuff. Let's get Crystal back on the show.
Absolutely.
Okay, because we will actually delve into picking her brain a little bit about some more specific things. I want to hear about her early years in the mortgage space a little more, because Crystal and I talk, but we talk about shit that really isn't all that business related, and it's
our last conversation was about cars.
we talk about cars. Yeah, we talk about what's going on in the here and now.
Yeah,
but I didn't have a lot of this history.
I've actually never told that story. So like what I told today, I've never actually really told publicly like that. But
for all of you,
thank you.
Watching, listening, your ears first. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I am exhausted. Jen, what else are we doing at JTT these days? Because I'm going to go take a nap.
Right. Well, I also want to say Crystal's right literally in my backyard, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah.
We shockingly don't have a ton of guests from down here, but literally like we're probably 10 minutes away from each other, which is pretty cool. So
Yeah.
And just thank you for sharing your story, especially so vulnerably. I think
Yeah.
that's very, very cool. But the biggest thing going on over here is Social Media Day Denver tickets are officially for sale June 14th on the Auraria campus. We've got almost all brand new speakers this year, which I'm really excited about. I haven't even told you this yet, Adam, but Angie is coming back to talk to us more about LinkedIn this year.
Cool.
Angie Callan.
Angie's amazing.
And yeah, Brett and Michelle will come talk to us about Google My Business again.
Cool.
But other than that, it's all new speakers that I got mostly through this incredible group of female entrepreneurs out of Denver, the Denver Boss Babes group. So everything from like mental health around social media to a Pinterest speaker, which we have never had anybody come talk about Pinterest at Social Media Day. So I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, tickets are on sale now. You can find out more information by going to justthetipscoaching.com, along with past episodes of our show, the weekly little tip, booking coaching time with Adam and me, getting copies of his books, all the things. Go to justthetipscoaching.com and you can get all of the things.
Cool. Thanks, Crystal.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We definitely threw you to the wolves here, Boomer. You had to do video and audio and and I know you asked your kids to help program your VCR so that you could record this, but
I should have.
No need. Jen will get you everything.
Microphone and everything, and I was like, this is so complicated. I'm just going to use my laptop. So I hope it all came over okay.
That's great.
No, you did great. Absolutely. Yeah,
Good.
we're ecstatic to have you, and we'll do it again.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys.
No, thank you for carving out the time to do it with us.
Yeah, anytime. Happy to.
Cool. And for the rest of you watching or listening live or in syndication, you can catch new episodes of How I Met Your Mortgage Monday mornings at 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern. I guess that wouldn't be in the morning. That would be in the afternoon on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And 48 hours later, you can catch the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon podcasts. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.